How much time would it take for us to reach Venus? The brightest planet in our sky is Venus. In actuality, it ranks just after the Sun and Moon in terms of brightness. The exploration of Venus, also referred to as the twin of the Earth, has been one of the most significant interplanetary goals after Mars. Although humanity has sent numerous missions to the morning star, the planet's mysteries remain unsolved. We must first travel there in order to find the answers to those inquiries. So how long would it take us to go to Venus? It is full of scientific marvels, such as having 92 times the surface pressure of Earth and being the hottest planet in our solar system. Although we have sent numerous unmanned missions to Venus, we have not yet stepped foot on its surface. There are several factors to take into account while evaluating such a feat. The issue of humans terraforming Venus is also raised. So how long would a human Venus expedition last? All of those questions and more will be answered in this video. Due to its size and brightness, the Sun stands out as the brightest object in our sky. The Moon shines brightly because it is so close and reflects sunlight. Yet, Venus shines brilliant primarily due to two factors: its highly reflecting atmosphere and its close proximity to the Earth. So let's start by talking about how far Venus is from Earth. We are well aware that planets have elliptical orbits. Because every planet follows its own orbit, the distances between them may differ. There may be times when they are close together and times when they are far apart. Hence, there is no fixed distance between Venus and Earth. As Venus achieves superior conjunction, you will notice that it is on the other side of the Sun from us. When the Earth is at the very edge of its orbital ellipse, the distance between the two planets is at its greatest. Similar to how they are closest to one another at the inferior conjunction, which takes place every 584 days. Venus and Earth are on opposite sides of the Sun at this time, and the Sun, Earth, and Venus are all in alignment. As Venus travels through the area of Earth's orbit that is least bent, it comes the closest to Earth. This happens when the Earth is getting ready to make its closest approach to the Sun, or perihelion. Mathematically connected, the orbits of the two planets repeat almost exactly every 5 conjunctions, which endure for around 8 years. This suggests that after 5 conjunctions, the distance between Earth and Venus at each will be nearly the same. With all of this knowledge at our disposal, we are aware that the question, how far away is Venus, cannot have a single solution. Yet, we are aware of its average and closest distances to us. All planets orbit in an ellipse rather than a circle, as we have explained. Venus, however, has the most elliptical orbit. At its inferior conjunction, when Venus is just 25 million miles, 40 million kilometers away from Earth, Venus is closest to the planet, perihelion. The minimum separation between our two planets has increased over time as a result of modifications to Earth's orbit. Venus hasn't come any closer to Earth than 24.5 million miles since 1623. 39.5 million kilometers. Around 60,000 years after the year 5683, Venus won't come within 24.8 million miles, 40 million kilometers, of Earth. The interval between Venus' closest and farthest approaches is only about 19 months. Its average separation from Earth between times is roughly 42.2 million miles, 68 million kilometers. This isn't the complete story, because the distance to Venus changes every day and fluctuates substantially over each orbit, but it's an excellent starting point. Mars is further away from Earth than Venus is. The current consensus among scientists is that Venus was once habitable, up until a runaway greenhouse effect brought on by volcanic activity and water loss from Venus' atmosphere a few billion years ago. This procedure condemned Venus to the awful landscape it has now. The morning star has been a popular target for space missions for a variety of reasons and mysteries, with the first space missions conducted by the Soviet Union and the United States in the early 1960s space race. In the race for space, both nations deployed numerous spacecraft to the hostile planet. From the beginning of the space age, 41 missions have been launched to Venus. 23 of them, American and Soviet, have reached Venus successfully, counting all of those that flew past Venus without being dedicated to studying it. This success rate significantly outperforms that of trips to Mars. These spacecraft that have visited Venus can provide useful information about how long it takes to get there. The first space probe to be sent toward Venus was the Soviet Union's Venera 1. On February 12, 1961, the mission was launched with the main objective of reaching the planet. On February 17th, though, researchers lost contact with the space probe. On May 19th, it is thought to have passed within 100,000 kilometers of Venus, but mission commanders were unable to adjust its path in time to get closer to the planet. That's 97 days in total, or just over 3 months. Mariner 2 of NASA successfully completed the first Venus flyby. On December 14, 1962, this spacecraft successfully completed a flyby after being launched on August 8, 1962. Hence, the total time required to go from launch to Venus is 110 days. The Pioneer Venus 1 mission was launched on May 20, 1978, and it took 198 days to get there. The most recent spacecraft to visit Venus was ESA's Venus Express. It set off on November 9, 2005, and took 153 days to reach Venus. Why are the times taken by several spacecraft so diverse from one another? It is not simple to send a spaceship to the planet. It is not possible to simply locate it, direct a spacecraft at it, and press a massive launch button. Instead, we must take into consideration how the planets move as they revolve around the Sun. At the start of our journey, we must avoid our own gravitational attraction, and at the end, we must enter Venus. Everything depends on a number of variables, including the route, fuel efficiency, and other aspects. Let's examine a few of these. All of this is like a physics ballet. The best route to our destination is frequently not the shortest one, which lengthens the travel time. Launch velocity and trajectory are the key factors. Venus and the Earth both travel in circles around the Sun. You must move in a transfer orbit between Earth's orbit and Venus' orbit in order to approach the morning star. Ideally, you should catch up with Venus and enter orbit. You must travel a longer, slower route if you want to complete the journey with a smaller, less expensive rocket. A spaceship must slow down if it is merely going to fly by Venus, but if it is going to orbit Venus, the journey there will take longer. Another key issue to consider is the type of engine powering the spacecraft, including whether it is fuel efficient or not. This makes it quite evident that there is no single answer to the question of how long it would take to reach Venus. Everything depends on a number of variables. But, according to the timeline of missions to Jupiter, the quickest and slowest spacecraft took 109 days and 198 days, respectively. Jupiter missions typically last between 120 to 135 days. What about people traveling to Venus, though? The idea of terraforming has received a lot of attention recently. Could Venus be made livable again if it previously was? To be quite honest, the process would be extremely difficult due to the planet's terrible atmosphere, yet there are several methods that could enable Venus to be terraformed. Yet that is a subject for another video. Today, we want to discuss the viability of sending humans to Venus. Although humans have never traveled there, we can anticipate at least a flyby expedition in the future because landing on the planet would be extremely uncomfortable. Only Venera 9 and Venera 10, which lasted 53 minutes and 65 minutes, respectively, successfully landed on Venus and sent back photographs of its surface. Venus has thousands of volcanoes, a surface temperature that can reach 950 degrees Fahrenheit, and is otherwise a planet that resembles an oven. On top of the strain on the human body, just surviving on Venus' surface would require equipment that could withstand extreme heat and corrosion from sulfuric acid in the atmosphere. there will be multiple unmanned missions to the planet from humanity. Yet, the amount of data and information that machines can retrieve is limited. When we get there, our next action will be to step foot on the planet. Astronomers from all around the world are fascinated by a handful of Venus' fundamental characteristics. The planet's stony surface is similar to Earth's, and there is a layer of atmosphere in which mankind might live. Just picture how a human landing on Venus would appear. In the future, with the greatest of our spacecraft, we may even be able to reduce the distance traveled to 60 to 80 days on average, but only time will tell. So, what are your thoughts about visiting Venus? What time frame is there a manned mission attempt for humanity? Any estimations? Share the video with your friends and let us know what you think in the comments section down below.